Okay, this meeting is being recorded. Awesome. All right. All right. This is our water tower presentation by Matthew Brown, Barrett Hay, and Ulissa Roybal. I don't know if I said your last name right. All right. Our location, we chose Kasarire, Uganda. It appears under several names. There's a few of them right there, but there's no discrete count of people for the village itself. The average wind speed in this area, though, is about 3.5 meters per second. The average daily high is 61 Fahrenheit to 85 Fahrenheit. That approximates to about 16 Celsius to 29 Celsius. The rare extremes temperatures seldom fall below 58 Fahrenheit or 14 Celsius and rise above 91 Fahrenheit. So it's rather warm. It's pretty dry over there though too. Geodata tools like falling rain estimate around 30,000 people within a 7 kilometer radius of this area. Problem is that they rely on shallow wells and boreholes. So many of the residents depend on hand dug or shallow wells, which are prone to drying and often yield contaminated water. This leads to long lines and wait times at functioning pumps, and it's common for villagers to rely on pond streams or shallow unprotected sources, leading to frequent contamination with bacteria or fecal matter, which is not what we want these people to be going through. Our Christian worldview and water source. So we would purify the water coming from the Pagna River. It is the region's principal perennial river flowing southward through Kamwinge before emptying into Lake George. This work reflects a spiritual duty to aid others as emphasized in Matthew 25:35 from the New English Version. Or sorry, not exactly sure which version that is. It says, "For I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink." So this initiative extends compassion, addresses a basic human need, and honors the moral principle of serving the vulnerable. So our shipping and assembly constraints. So this is in a remote rural area. So we're limited infrastructure and rugged terrain is something we need to consider, along with reliance on dirt roads, prone to flooding if it is raining at all. Difficult transportation. It's approximately 30 kilometers from the town, and it might require 4x4 vehicles in wet months. There's only two primary road access points. Delays likely during seasonal rains and climate considerations. Like we talked about earlier, you can get up to 88 Fahrenheit and then, even close to 56 Fahrenheit. Heavy rains in these months from March to May and September to November may hinder equipment staging.
So for our designs, they're both just a basic triangle truss with like square metal frames. The top has a little indent where the water tank would go. And we ran some SolidWorks sims. Next slide. To verify our hand calculations that we made. We'll have a error percentage slide later, but the total strain here is on the right. It's kind of hard to see. We summed the strain in the joints or the like beams. Yeah. And these are our numbers. Um, the lack of like a dark red is really good that like it won't break. We did simulations in average wind, twice wind, and no wind, and then all at half capacity and full capacity, just to see.
All right, and these are our hand calculations for the first tower. The first tower we designed, as shown earlier, was a 5x5 for the base. And then we also, if you can see in the top there, did that. The hand calculations were done essentially as the example for the full wind and full capacity. So you can see that we solved for the forces and the directions to get our reaction forces. And then we did method of joints to solve for each joint after that. And then after getting all of our joints for the first calculations using the full values for both, not including half or double anything, we then got them all for full capacity, full wind, full capacity, double wind, half capacity, double wind, and half capacity, full wind. And essentially to do that, you just change the numbers. And we did that via paper and Excel, but our calculations were just an example for the full capacity, full wind. After getting that, you can see that we did have some zero force members along with numbers that stayed pretty consistent throughout some of our things, like the full capacity double wind and half capacity double wind shows that The AC, for example, at the very bottom shows it's always going to be the same if it's double wind, so that is affected by most of the wind. And then for the full capacity full wind on the very left and the half capacity full wind on the very right, that's also showing the same thing for wind. So just depending on some of the values of the wind and the weight of the water, it can show similar examples or some minor differences. And then design B.
Yeah, so design B is much the same as design A. We changed the ratio of the side lengths to see if that had an effect on the like stress on certain joints. And then we ran those in SolidWorks as well, all with the same settings. We had no wind, double wind, half wind, and half capacity, full capacity.
And then here's Tower B hang calculations. Like he discussed, we did different ratios. So instead of a 5 to 5, we did a 6 to 8, which approximates to like a 5-4-3 triangle. So we wanted to see that instead. Same thing. We did forces in the X, Y, and then a moment to get our reaction forces. And then we did our joints. And then we got our results. And again, our calculations were for the full wind, full weight as the example. And then we put it in Excel after getting the equations to show the difference in any numbers. And again, you can see that based on the wind and the capacity of the water, you'll get similar numbers on some and then some differences. So for example, the full capacity full wind and half capacity full wind, the full wind shows 120 tension in AC, which will stay the same, but you'll get different compressions and weights or forces and things like AB, just depending on which force it is. And also, we also get the same zero force members that we noticed because it is a pretty similar structure, but it is different in terms of length and height.
And this will be our percent error for each of the joints. We had our hand calculations as our theoretical value, and then we had our SolidWorks simulations data as the experimental value. For design A, our lowest error was percent error was 0%. The lowest non-zero percent was 29%. The average percent error was 66.8%. And then for design B, our lowest percent error was 0. The non-zero percent error was 46%, and our average percent error was 70.4%.
And then we figure the high percent error might have something to do with how the simulations are done, or perhaps just the weight of the actual frame was not taken into consideration. Exactly figure out why, but that's what we were thinking.
Okay, and with that, we decided to select Tower A just due to projected long-term reliability and structural integrity. The Tower A cost was slightly smaller than Tower B just due to the bill of materials. As it shows, Tower A was $65,000 and Tower B cost around $86,000. And then just due to having shorter beams, design A was slightly more stable, structural strength due to lower center of gravity, better resistance to wind and seismic forces, easier and safer to construct and maintain, and just basically showing that Tower A's percentage error was smaller than Tower B, as it was 66.8 and B was 70.4%. And this is basically the bills of materials for design A, as it was 40,000 kilograms for the galvanized steel. These materials were just an estimate of what would be used, with the total coming to 65,000.
Same thing for design B. It's just a little more expensive because the height and the base were a little bigger, but it's the same general design. So it came about 20,000 more.
And then basically for the assemble process, we would just obtain a permit for approval from the state and the water department. Then we would hire a qualified construction team. We would then rent or buy necessary materials and tools. We would clear the site for construction, then assemble and weld structural beams, We would then install water pipe from tower to town distribution. We would then apply primary plan to prevent rust or primary paint to prevent rust and corrosion. And lastly, we would add safety features and schedule regular maintenance.
Here's our references for everything at the end. And thank you for watching our video on our water tower project.